Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and salutations to Yakim out there pushing this word with truth. This is Brother Ra'aya with another video. I'm going to just get a few articles and presets before I get out of here, but I'm going to start off by saying these few articles I'm getting happened around New Year's Eve or on New Year's. And as you'll see when I go through them, that it's New Year's hadn't even started, and crazy stuff is already starting to pop off. So, as the apostles had said, this is the year of prophecy, and I hope I can illustrate that with this video. So let's get into it. Call of Duty gaming community points to swatting and deadly Wichita police shooting, and this is on the website, the Wichita Eagle, and it says, online gamers have said in multiple Twitter posts that the shooting of a man Thursday night by Wichita police was the result of a swatting hoax involving two gamers. Swatting happens when someone makes a call to a police department with a false story of an ongoing crime, often with killing or hostages involved, in an attempt to draw a large number of police officers to a particular address. Swatting has gained traction across the country with online gamers. Those who try to cause the swatting incident will use caller ID spoofing or other techniques to disguise their number as being local, or they call local non-emergency numbers instead of 911, according to 911.gov. Deputy Wichita Police Chief Troy Livingston said Thursday night that the police were looking into whether the call that led to the shooting was a case of swatting. Livingston said the department received a call that someone had an argument with their mother, that the father had been shot in the head, and the shooter was holding his mother and brother and sister hostage. This was the information we were working off of, he said. Officers went into the 1000 block of McCormick preparing for a hostage situation, and they got into position, he said. A male came to the front door, Livingston said, and as he came to the front door, one of our officers discharged his weapon, and you'll see a lot more of this happening where there will be a no questions asked attitude taken by these officers and eventually these UN troops and militias. And I'll get my first scripture. 2 Ezra 16 and 71. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. And it doesn't really state whether this man was in fear of the Lord or not, but definitely those officers were like madmen, sparing none by taking his life without even asking questions. I'll get back to the article. Livingston didn't say if the man who was 28 had a weapon when he came to the door or what caused the officer to shoot the man. Police don't think the man fired at officers, but the incident is still under investigation, he said, which is not going to come to anything because they'll just say, oh, it was either self-defense or there was no way of the officer knowing that this was a hoax incident, but still. The man who had been identified by police died at a local hospital. A family member identified that the man who was shot by police was Andrew Finch. One of Finch's cousins said Finch didn't even play video games. This call was a little peculiar for us, Livingston said. The call went to a substation first, then it was relayed to dispatch, then dispatch gave it to us. We have a lot of information to go through. So as you can see, a man lost his life over a joke, and I want to get the brothers to thinking that as things get worse and worse out here, you could find yourself in a similar situation where you could be doing nothing, minding your own business, even making a video like this, and some cops who think they're Judge Dredd could bust through the door and take you out. So there's just no telling what could be going down this year, so we just got to keep our eyes open and keep our faith up. And I'm going to get to the next article, which is on the Los Angeles Times, which says, swatting suspect was linked to many other hoax calls in LA and elsewhere before the Kansas tragedy. In some corners of the online gaming world, Tyler Ray Barris was a notorious figure. The 25-year-old Los Angeles man had built a reputation for helping others gain revenge on rival players. He also had a history of making fake terror threats and other hoaxes that sowed chaos and landed him in jail. There are 10 backpacks that have explosives in them, he said in one call to a Los Angeles elementary school that was immediately evacuated. According to court records, do not take this lightly. Sometimes using his grandmother's phone and computer, Bears called in at least 24 fake terror threats and other prank emergencies in recent years, targeting a television station in Glendale and venues as far away as Illinois and New Hampshire, police said. Let me get my next scripture. 2 Timothy 3, 1-5. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of them own selves, covetous, boisterous, which this Tyler Barris was, by wanting to sow chaos by making all these fake threats. And also, you have to be a pretty narcissistic lover of yourself to get off on doing things like this. A proud blasphemer, disobedient to parents, which in this article it said he used his grandmother's phone call on several occasions, his grandmother's phone, to make these false threats. So that's just straight disobedience, getting your grandmother involved in this. Unthankful and unholy. Without natural affection, which he got a man killed, and you know he didn't think a second thing about it because he just wanted to get his kicks off. A false accuser, again, he falsely accused that man in Kansas by calling his number and saying he had taken hostage and killed people. Incontinence, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of the Most High, which if he was a follower of the Most High, he wouldn't do something as cold-hearted as that and love the pleasure and getting off on doing that, and having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof, from such turn away. Let me get back to the article. Barris is now accused of falsely telling police in Wichita, Kansas that he had shot his father and was holding relatives hostage at a home in the city. When officers descended on the address, one of them shot and killed an innocent man leaving the house. The death has underscored the dangers of placing hoax emergency calls that draw a massive police response, a phenomenon known as swatting that has become an increasingly popular tactic among warring factions of online gamers and those who see themselves as hackers. Law enforcement and cybersecurity experts believe that the incident in Kansas last week was the first swatting call to result in the death in the U.S. Perilous times. But some say it was inevitable that such a hoax would lead to a fatality. Police are trained to launch a rapid response to an explosives threat, active shooter, or hostage situation, which are all among the more popular hoaxes perpetuated in swatting incidents, says Kevin Colby, a former FBI agent specializing in cybercrime, but now serves as an assistant chief in Arlington, Texas. But with police increasingly concerned about mass shootings, officers are more likely than ever to be on edge when responding to the types of situations described in hoax calls, which a lot of them aren't. I wouldn't say they're on edge. They're looking for the kill, because as you can see with a lot of these past police shootings, they had that shoot first, ask questions later approach to it, and a lot of these officers are hopped up on amphetamines, so they're not in the right mind to begin with. For some in the darkest areas of the internet, the fake calls provide a thrill, as it said in 2 Timothy 3 and 4, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of the Most High. They live online and target competitors and even friends, Colby said. They don't understand the real-life consequences in terms of the risks to officers and the waste of resources and danger to the people being targeted. And you brothers can finish reading this article, but I'm going to just get a picture of this guy. And honestly, I thought this sounded like it would have been something Esau would have done, but as you can see, this Tyler Barris, he doesn't have an Ishmaelite name, but he looks like he could be Ishmael or even Elam or even a northern tribe's brother, but I digress. And then I'm going to get into my next article, and this also happened on New Year's. 16-year-old boy allegedly killed family in New Year's Eve attack. And if the guy in the previous video wasn't Esau, this was Esau through and through. You can see his snake eyes right there. He's got that, what was his name? I can't remember right now, but we'll just get into the article. A 16-year-old boy was accused Monday of using a semi-automatic rifle to gun down his parents, sister, and a family friend at their Jersey Shore home on New Year's Eve, according to reports. The teen, identified by local media as Scott Kologi, killed his father, Stephen Kologi, mother Linda Kologi, sister Brittany Kologi, and family friend Mary Schultz, who lived in their Long Branch home. Monmouth County Prosecutor Christopher J. Gramicione said. His brother and grandfather also were at the house at the time of the attack, but escaped unharmed, he said. Police received a 911 call about the shooting at 11:43 p.m. Sunday from inside the 635 Wall Street house, where the 4 victims were found dead, the prosecutor said. It's a terrible, tragic incident, Gramicione said. Scott Kologi was arrested without incident, and the Century Arms semi-automatic rifle, which was allegedly registered to the resident in the home, was seized, authorities said. Authorities have not yet determined a motive for the shooting spree, which was described as a domestic violence incident that posed no danger to the public, he said. And though they have no motive, I've got a motive in my next scripture. Where is it? Right here. Habakkuk 2:4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And Esau is known as the waster and the ultimate warlord out here, and just killing people like this is nothing to him. And honestly, I think he is probably upset. I don't think it's in here, but they had a picture of his sister, and she's a pretty attractive little Edomite, and he is probably upset that she didn't want to hook up with him, so he took her out, which brings me to another story I read about where Esau tried to hook up with the sister, and she didn't want to be with him, so he killed her and hid her under his bed. And whenever he wanted to pop her, he'd take her out and do what he had to do, then folded her back up like a lawn chair and put her back under the bed. So as you can see, this is the man you Israelite women want to have a Hitler seed with, and it's going to come back to bite you, especially in these last days. Let me get back to this article. Scott was charged with 4 counts of murder and a weapons offense Monday, according to the Ashbury Park Press. Authorities said police had not previously been to the house for domestic violence calls. An Ocean Township residents who played softball with the father described the 16-year-old as the nicest kid in the world. He came to watch the softball games with Linda, and he was always smiling. This is totally out of the blue, Joe Rios, 52, told the reporter. This is not something I ever thought this young boy would do. I don't know what happened. He was not a violent kid. He was always smiling, said Rios, adding that he hung out with Steve every other weekend. This is going to go back. I'm going to just go back to 2 Timothy's again. For men shall be lovers of them own selves, and proud and without natural affection. And you know, a lot of these people are saying things, didn't really take into mind how this Edomite kid was feeling, because a lot of people, especially in America nowadays, are narcissistic and just want to sound good on camera and caring, which is probably the case here. And it said, the Kologis owned the three-family home where a friend of Rios lived in the basement, and called him at 2 a.m. on Monday. She called me and said she heard gunshots. She said something had happened, he said. Steve is a great person. He did everything for his family and for his 4 kids, Rios said about the slain dad, who was a truck driver. And this article goes on a little bit more and stuff, but I'm going on